West Side, worldwide. Welcome to Story Time with OG LA Ron. And please don't forget to smash the like button, comments, and subscribe. Go to the website. And please don't forget the merch. I got the merch on tonight. Today, I would like to do a story on the first black billionaire in the United States. His name is Reginald Lewis out of Baltimore. How did I get familiar with this guy? You know, a lot of times I have an opportunity to talk about money, and a lot of times I don't have an opportunity to talk about money, but this is one of my pet peeves, talking about billionaires. I have actually broke down the Warren Buffett billionaire code. I got part 1 and part 2 coming out on that. But I wanted to talk about the first black billionaire in the United States. But I remember when I first got his book, somebody sent me his book when I was in Leavenworth. And one of the reasons you never really hear about this guy is because when the Johnson Ebony magazine and Jet magazine was on the scene, they would never put Reginald Lewis in the magazine because he kept knocking Mr. Johnson out of first place as being the first black billionaire. So they never really talked about this guy. They never really let him get his due props. But today, hopefully, I will be able to give justice to this real brilliant guy. I know his wife is one of the only persons that took law in the Philippines and came to the United States and passed the law bar exam. And she never studied in the United States. She studied in the Philippines. That's how smart this couple was. But to make a long story short about Reginald Lewis, the first black billionaire is, and another reason that they never actually really gave Reginald Lewis his props is because when Reginald Lewis bought a company, a BLT Beatrice, it was an international company, and he bought the company for $2 billion and some dollars, but he sold half of it and kept the other half. That's why you never really see his company really get this just due, because it was an international company and he actually chopped it up and sold half of it. Now, this guy was so smart and he was so in depth into the money that he was before his time. I remember one time they called Michael Milken, which was the junk bond king. They called Michael Milken and they said, "Hey man, who is this black guy that's one of the most intelligent guys we ever met? We never heard of him and anything like that." But I remember when Michael Milken ended up going to federal prison for junk bond fraud, but he was the junk bond king. But he told the guys, he said, "Hey man, listen, this guy is one of the new coming up brilliant money guys, and they just wanted to get some kind of information on Reginald Lewis so they can loan him this money," which they did. Now, Michael Milken liked this guy so much that he used to always call Reginald Lewis and say, "Hey, Reg, tell me about that story, how you took that company and turned it around and flipped it and did the whole troubleshooter thing before a lot of these guys that was going into these companies." Now I see the guy at Red Lobster, the black guy, he came in and really fixed the economical thing that was Red Lobster. Red Lobster had filed bankruptcy. And then a lot of times these companies, man, they get these companies and they let these white guys, they gut these companies out, man, and they fall and they go bankrupt and they never recovered, just like Kmart's, man. But this guy took a patent company, which is his book is called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And the name of my book is Why Should Jews Have All the Fun? Part 1 and Part 2. I had been studying this guy for many years. I have been paying attention to his wife, his children, and I have been paying attention to how he went to a junior college and he went to Harvard, and they end up naming one of the buildings after him. I really been on this guy. I really never had an opportunity to talk about this guy, but I really wanted to let people know that they have a couple like a museum or some kind of thing in Baltimore about him. And I just really wanted to talk about how brilliant this guy was and how he took the company TLC Beatrice and turned it into himself into a billionaire. Now, I know that he have passed away. Rest in heaven, brother Reginald Lewis. But I know that he got a couple daughters, and I see his wife is, still trying to let people know exactly who she was married to, and who she is, and how it came about, and how his legacy is going to go forward. This is just something like he was a Jackie Robinson of his time, and into economics, into the system. Now, with this guy being one of the top underspoken guys, billionaires. I know everybody say Oprah Winfrey, the other guy for BT, Bob Johnson, Michael Jordan, a lot of these, LeBron James. But this guy, man, if you Google him, you will see he was the first black billionaire, just like Madam C.G. Walker was the first millionaire. As women, we always want to give props to what props do, but sometimes you got to hear it from people that was actually there. But anyway, this is on Reginald Lewis, and this is one of the guys that I always looked up to, and I continue to look up to, and I always wanted to do a story on billionaires, and this is maybe a series that I'm gonna do on billionaires. Reginald Lewis out of Baltimore, and I'm just glad that I was able to shed light on this guy. And I will be able to do more and more stories on this guy, because this guy's story, man, is kind of it's an old story, but it should be put out there in the newspapers. It should be put out there with books, and our kids need to really study this guy and read his book. Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And really study this guy and understand that this guy was doing stuff when everybody else was doing stuff, but they never knew that this guy was a professional at what he does and what he done, and he's out of Baltimore. Reginald Lewis, first black billionaire.